So I think Nissan may have kept this a secret on the best sports car that they have, and it very well might be the Nissan Maxima. We're going to talk about it on this episode of ModStars. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of ModStars. I am your host Z, and this is another installment of the Sleeper series. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. If you're new, welcome. If not, welcome back. Feel free to go through all the other videos, especially start from the first video I made because there aren't many on this channel yet. Before I even started the Sleeper series, just talking about how to buy a car, how to drive one, the best simple mods you can do to any car, things of that nature. I also want to thank you all for the huge response to the video, the 4-door GTR you never heard of. Last I saw, that video was sitting at 40,000 views, and I got a lot of subscribers from that too. It was about 430 subscribers last I saw. And you guys, shared some things I didn't know about the car, like what it's called in Japan, the common issues, or not common issues, but just other mechanical issues that the cars might have that I wasn't aware of. And other engines that I didn't know about that I will definitely do videos on in the future. So thank you guys for that. You guys are also going to get shout outs for those too. And now we're going to talk about the Nissan Maxima. So starting with the 4th gen and somewhat of the 5th gen, with the VQ30, the 3-liter V6 that people either forgot or didn't know about, made about 190 horsepower and about 220 pound-feet of torque. And then, of course, 5th generation came along, introduced the VQ35, which had an output of 255 horsepower and 246 pound-feet of torque. Now, there were 5-speed and 6-speed manual transmission options. Cars weighed about 3,245 pounds and had a Torsen diff and ran a 14.7 1/4 mile. Now, moving on to the 6th gen, which is probably the most common style Maxima that we see. Again, 3.5 liters. They had a CVT option. We'll mention that later. But they also had a 6-speed manual transmission option. I believe that is the SER model that's commonly found in. And that will be a video for another time. But 265 horsepower and 255 pound-feet of torque. And weighed about 3,580 pounds. Moving on to the 7th gen, we now have the Xtronic CVT transmission. Power upgrade to 290 horsepower and 261 pound-feet of torque. Running a 14.5 1/4 mile. And lastly, the current generation, still the Xtronic, 10 horsepower increase to 300, the same 260 pound-feet of torque, weight ranging from 3,470 to 3,488 pounds, running a 14.4 1/4 mile. Now, keep in mind that these 14-second times, I'm going to be comparing this to the likes of the 350Z, 370Z, G37, and the variants of the sort later on in the video. Also, let's not forget about Infiniti because they are the sister company of Nissan. During this time, they had their versions of the Maxima 2, which was the i30 and the i35. And they weighed a little bit less than these. They weighed about 3,000 pounds up to 3,200 pounds for the i30. And then for the i35, it's like early 3,300 pounds. So they're a little bit lighter, even though, they're luxury cars and daily commuters. It's just feel pretty cool to see that out there because, nowadays light is 3,400 pounds and hatchbacks, weigh as much as sedans now. So I don't mean it to the literal extreme of weighing as much as sedans, but perhaps like mid-sized sedans, like a 3 Series BMW or something. So yeah, it's just cool to see things that are relatively lighter and have all the space, and I digress. Another video. Moving on. We're going to talk about common problems now. Starting with, 4th gen moving up. In 95, I believe there were failed ignition coil issues, closed thermostat, clogged EGR, clogged evap housing, CPS failure, leaking power steering pump. And that kind of carried a little bit throughout, to the 6th generation as well. And then 7th generation, we have potential trans failures, power steering pump, and timing chain issues. And then current model we have is potential timing chain rattle. Now, it's just kind of funny. It sounds kind of scary, but in reality, we see these cars everywhere. There's a lot of them. You can't go outside without seeing a Maxima of any kind. They're abundant and they're really affordable, most of them. Anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000, even $6,000, depending on how they were treated. Yeah, but make sure you guys, of course, do your homework and take care of all the maintenance first before we get into the fun stuff, which are mods. Now, as always, I am not responsible for what you do or don't do. Check your local laws, obey them if you can. You make your bed, you sleep in it. If the video helps you, yeah, like, subscribe, and share. But at the end of the day, you make your bed, you sleep in it. You make your mistakes, you learn from them. So, starting with the VQ30, a common, or perhaps common, popular modification that people would do is get the intake manifold off of the 01 Maxima. There is a guide on this on the website nicoclub.com, and you need the upper and lower plenum, fuel rail injectors, throttle body with the ICV, and EGR valve tube. And that's pretty much it to do that swap. Price for all those parts will vary depending on where you can source them from. Some people might even give them to you for free because they're just, spare parts. Or if you don't want to do the swap, just, port and polish the plenum that you have and go from there. JWT, Jim Wolf Technologies, is a company I'm going to talk about a lot in this video. No, they're not sponsoring me. I just like talking about this company because they've been around for a long time and it's just cool. So yeah, we're going to talk about the S1 cams now. Again, prices for these parts are what they were by the time I made this video. It could be more or less by the time you look into this. I'm not sure. They have S1 cams, which are basically the drop-in cams, and they can be used with the OEM valve springs and retainers. They also have an ECU upgrade for $600, not just for the manual cars that are VQ30s, but the autos as well. The pop filters are about $160. It's the same principle as a K&N drop-in, but it's a cone filter. But if you want to do a K&N, hey, you can do that too. 50 state legal as well. Now, going into the manual transmission upgrades, they also have a Flywheel. I saw this one on Nisformance's website. We're going to talk about them in a minute as well. Last I saw, they only had one left, so if you want to grab it, grab it. Otherwise, check out JWT if they have them. They go for $450 to $550. If you can't find a JWT flywheel, Fidanza still makes flywheels. That's awesome. Theirs goes for $414. And Nissan Race Shop has a key value clutch kit ranging from $150 to $252. This one was a little tricky because based on what they give the description wise in their website, it's not much. So I'm not sure if this is a factory replacement or an upgrade. But if you're looking for an upgrade for sure, X Clutch has a stage 1 clutch you can get for $212 Sorry, I can't talk today. $212, and I believe you can get that through Summit Racing as well, which is pretty cool. Now, moving on to the CVT or automatic transmissions that the Maxima has. There are two companies, I think they're both in New Jersey even, that build transmissions. IPT is one, and Level 10 Transmissions is the other. And it's really cool because just about any car you can think of, they will pretty much build, rebuild, upgrade the transmissions for. I'm mentioning Level 10 because part-wise, price-wise, it's a bit more appealing. So they have a torque converter upgrade for $500, a valve body upgrade that will also eliminate slam shifts for $700, and a rebuild kit for $700. Now you can buy a fully built reinforced transmission from IPT, but you're going to pay for that too, which is why I did not mention that. And it's nothing against them because they do great work. They've worked on a lot of great cars, and people have like 5, 6, 700 horsepower cars or more. But yeah, it's something that you can do if you don't want to do the manual swap and you don't want to have your car sit for that long, and it might just be a cheaper route to go. And who knows, you probably still be just as quick depending on the gearing. And speaking of gearing, I forgot to mention this earlier, on Nisformance, they have a main shaft and final drive upgrade for the manual Maximas. And the final drives range anywhere from 3.8 to 1 to a 4.7 to 1, and a few ratios in between. And the price for that starts at $220. So that's not bad at all. Also, I know I'm going back and forth here, there is a transcooler, a Mishimoto transcooler for the automatic transmission that you can get for $90 too. So it's really to a point where, unless you're really specific on gearing, you still may even be able to upgrade the final drive through the CVTs if it fits. I'm not sure if it will. I know that that final drive kit is for the manual transmissions, but again, it's just cool that there's a solution to that problem as well. Because earlier when the Maxima was out, I think it was 6th gen, 8th gen, whichever. No, 6 for sure, sorry. That had that issue, but nobody really knew at the time, so they would just scrap the car and get something else. Now, you don't have to. And then as far as the VQ35 goes, you can take the same approach as what guys, with the G35s, 37s, 350Cs, and 370s take. Plenum spacer, throttle body spacer. NWP Engineering has a plenum spacer for $225. 2J Racing has a throttle body spacer for $70. Now, the JWT cams, they're there, the S1 cams, but the ones I'm going to mention are the ones that are on the Nisformance website and why they are significant. These cams are $1,260, and the valve springs and retainers go for $215. But the bundle price at the time I made this video is about $1,000. Why I'm mentioning these cams and this whole package here is because it's the same cams that they use for their record cars in the quarter mile. So they have a Maxima, I believe they have the all-motor record for that, and the all-motor 350Z record as well. And it's the same, it's not a 350Z VQ, it's a VQ from a Maxima. And I get it, they're 10-second cars. I believe the Maxima might be 11s. Maybe it is 10s, I can't recall. I also understand context, stripped interior, slicks, whatever. But the power they needed to make that happen is there, all motor, which is very cool. Now, of course, as far as tuning goes for the VQ35, there's UpRev, and there's a lot of good tuners out there, and I believe the most popular tuner currently for the VQ platform is Admin Tuning. But, of course, there's other tuners out there. They could be the next Admin Tuning. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That's up to them and their skills and who you trust to do your work. So, lastly, I'm going to mention the manual swap guide, a YouTube channel by the name of Horsepower Labs. They have a list of parts they believe that you will need to do the swap, and they kind of show their progress on it as well. 6-speed transmission, axles, axle seal, starter, clutch and flywheel, shifter cable, clutch pedal, and transmission oil. Again, the price for those parts will vary depending on where you source them from. And, what's crazy about this, and I mentioned it earlier about, this being a sports car from Nissan, they themselves have mentioned this a few times over the life of this car, over the generations of this car, that it's a 4-door sports car. There are people who comment that say if, Nissan made these with manual transmissions, they'd sell like hotcakes. Well, they sell like hotcakes now, but not to enthusiasts or people who like sports cars to further prove that person's point. If they did, my goodness, I don't even know. Would people still buy, unless you wanted like a road course car, a drifter, or something of the sort? I wonder how many people would buy and pay attention to, the 350Z, 370Z, G35, Q50, Q60s, the list goes on. Story time, way back in the day, in Texas, there was a guy with a 350Z and then a guy with a Maxima. I believe it was a 5th gen Maxima. And there was a Hyundai Tiburon, for those who remember the Tiburon, when they first came out, also a V6. And they wanted to run because the guy with the Maxima, it was kind of funny. He believed his car was quick and it was stock. And wanted to run the Z to see where he was at. Z was not stock, but it didn't matter. And then the Tiburon wanted to run the Maxima because it thought, all V6s were created equal kind of deal. And, so the Maxima and the Tiburon ran first. The Z was a follow car. The Z was no longer a follow car and led the group, passed them both. The Maxima kind of scooted away, and people were shocked about how quick it was. And the Tiburon just kind of sat there in its place, didn't go anywhere compared to the other two. Now, I think another channel, TVQ, was another one that really caught my eye on this too, just out of curiosity, thinking back to that memory. Yeah, same deal. And dude's like bullying challengers. Looks like he's on his way home from work and just like left it like it was nothing. I know his car was on motor for quite a long time and he's just wrecking shop. And I think now he's going to go turbo. So check out his channel. But it was just insane. And then for manual swap Maximas, what really caught my eye there was G Maxima 6MT. Beat the brakes off just on a lot of cars. I mean, even Z's. And I'm not talking about like a muffler delete 350. I'm talking like an HR that had cams in E85 and it just walked it. And it's not the first time that car has done stuff like that, or even other swapped Maximas that have beaten up on Z's. And I'm not trying to, put them down. Again, I mentioned this in the Honda video, the K-Series killer. I may offend some people, and that's not my intention, and it's not my intention here. I will put links in the description of these videos that I reference as well, so you can see my point. And it would just take off, man. It's quick, very quick. Even was on the door of an A90 Supra, I believe, was lightly tuned. And I mean, that kind of speaks volumes within itself. So what do you guys think? I mean, they're still made, and whether it's manual or the CVT trans, whatever, as long as it's strong and it can get the power going, gearing wise, they're pretty quick. You have, 4 doors, comfortable ride, more space, fit groceries in the back even. And the price point for these cars, you don't even have to stick to the new ones. You can go to the older generations I mentioned. So you're talking anywhere from $4,000 or less up to less than potentially $30,000 for, performance that can keep up with, if not beat, Nissan's popular sports car, the 350, 370, and Infinity's variant of them. So yeah, again, what do you guys think? Let me know what you do think. Don't be shy about it. Let's have a conversation. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and share. Have a great day. Peace.